What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Fantasy Football 201. We have a makeshift studio today because we have some breaking news. Not only has Davante Adams been traded to the Jets, but Amari Cooper, within the last 10 minutes, has just been traded to the Buffalo Bills. And I'm still trying to see from the reports what the compensation is of what Cleveland is going to be getting from Buffalo. But more importantly, there are big fantasy implications in both of these trades. And I was really debating making a video about Davante Adams getting traded just alone, but that was kind of a projected deal that a lot of people saw happening. But Cooper to the Bills is very surprising, and it really changes things for a lot of these players. So in this video, I'm going to do a fantasy fallout from these trades. I'm going to see what the biggest takeaways are for both of these teams, stock up and stock down, and how that changes things rest of season for these guys. So first of all, let's start with the Davante Adams trade. Stock up for Davante Adams getting traded to the New York Jets. First of all, Davante Adams himself, he's actually going to be playing now, and he's going to be getting Aaron Rodgers as quarterback, who he's had years of rapport with back in Green Bay years ago. I suspect they're going to be able to hit it off right away, and Davante Adams is going to be productive right away too. So this is a huge win for him, and just any owner that has Davante Adams has to be thrilled not only that he's now going to be able to play, but he's going to be playing for his former quarterback. So that is a great situation. And then stock down Garrett Wilson. So Garrett Wilson's big calling card in the last two games has been his target volume, because in that game against Minnesota, he had 22 targets, I believe. And I have to double check exactly how many he had last night, but he still got the vast majority of the carries, of the catches in this Jets offense. He had a total of 10 targets, 8 receptions. So still leading the team in target volume. But what is that going to look like for Garrett Wilson now with Davante Adams there? So kind of an L for Garrett Wilson managers. I think he's still going to be a good fantasy player, but now you're looking at more like a wide receiver 3 as opposed to a wide receiver 2. And then Allen Lazard, I think because of that rapport with Aaron Rodgers, he's still going to have involvement, but it's not going to be the same as it was, with just Wilson and Lazard. Now he falls clearly to the number 3 receiver. And then Mike Williams was kind of on the fringe anyway. He had a terrible drop last night that cost him that game. There's rumors now that he's going to get traded. I'm not really sure what that means for him other than the fact that he's droppable right now in fantasy football. Speaking of stock up, this is a big stock up for Breece Hall to get Davante Adams on the Jets. He is not only getting, not only based on the way Monday's game went, it was a big win for him because he's getting more carries and they're really trying to make this offense run-centric. But now he gets more threats on the outsides in Davante Adams that they're going to not stack the box as often as they have been. So this is going to open up more lanes for Breece Hall. Big win for him as well. Aaron Rodgers' fantasy value, I think, is pretty much going to be a stream-worthy quarterback at best. I don't really think that having Davante Adams is really going to drastically change Aaron Rodgers. If anything, I think this is a good opportunity to try to sell Aaron Rodgers off this news if you are in 2 quarterback leagues and you own him, based on whatever people think he's going to – people are going to believe he's going to get back to his MVP form now that Davante Adams is on the Jets, and frankly, I think that's a bit of a stretch. Also, some other fringe players as well. It's kind of a stock down for Tyler Conklin. He's going to lose some of his target volume, I would imagine. He's droppable now as well. So, yeah. And on every trade that's receiving, we got to look at the team losing. And this is the thing that's very important with these trades in fantasy, is really to pay attention to the opportunities that the team losing the star player will get. And for the Las Vegas Raiders, this is a big win for Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker. These are the 2 receivers that had been we kind of saw it over the last few weeks because Davante Adams wasn't playing, but they are now going to be getting the majority of the target share in this offense moving forward. Of these 2, I would prefer Trey Tucker to take the upside. He did have a very disappointing game this past week where he only had 0 for 2. So that was not the most encouraging, and Jacoby Myers was out for this week. But those are the two receivers that you want to keep an eye on. The biggest win, though, for Davante Adams being gone is Brock Bowers. Already the target leader on this team, but he's just going to continue to get more involvement as the season goes along. This is a big win for Brock Bowers managers. And yeah, for the Raiders, though, do keep an eye out for Myers and Tucker on waivers. They may have been dropped because of these performances that they've had and their inability to play in Myers' case this past week. But I think these are both great buy low candidates in deep leagues and great waiver pickups because somebody's going to need to fill the void that Davante Adams has left. The big concern with me in general about Las Vegas is just their quarterback play is going to really limit some of these guys' value. But I think that both Tucker and Myers are good slot players that I foresee will still get a good target share and it will be valuable in PPR formats. All right, so now we're going to talk the Amari Cooper to Buffalo trade. I did not have that on the bingo card at all. It does make sense because Buffalo does need a receiver, but I just didn't think that they would go after Amari Cooper. I thought they would be trying to save it. I mean, they weren't willing to pay Diggs the money, so I thought they were going to go for a younger receiver. I thought Cooper would be more likely a candidate to go to the Chiefs. But instead, he's going to go to the Buffalo Bills. And, man, what a great turnaround for the Amari Cooper managers. Been getting a lot of questions about what do you do with Amari Cooper. He's really plagued by Deshaun Watson. And I think at this point, now that he's on the Buffalo Bills, you've now got him back in as a top wide receiver. So if you didn't sell him yet, I would hold. But do keep in mind with some of these trades for Adams and Amari Cooper is that although you're happy that now you're getting these guys in a system where they're going to be the number one wide receiver and they're going to have a good target volume coming their way, do listen to offers because there's going to be people that are going to be willing to give you like Marvin Harrison, for example. And if I had a choice between Marvin, especially in dynasty formats, between Marvin Harrison Jr. and Amari Cooper, I would still lean Marvin Harrison Jr., even though he has struggled because there's still question marks. Like, what is his rapport going to be with Josh Allen? This offense is still designed around running the ball and spreading it around to different receivers. So will this mean elite Stephon Diggs level, or are we going to see more of the second half of 2023 Stephon Diggs, where he was a pretty disappointing fantasy wide receiver? So I think for that reason, it could be good to capitalize on Cooper, but still, this is a significant change in his stock value. And now I think you could feel comfortable getting him back into your starting lineups again. This is a huge win for anybody who owned Amari Cooper. Now you have a totally different outlook on trade potential and just your wide receiver core in general by having somebody that now has Josh Allen as his quarterback. This is kind of a loss for a lot of these other receivers, though, on the Bills. Khalil Shakir was benefiting from being that guy that had been in the system for a while, familiar with Josh Allen, getting the relative lead in target shares prior to his injury. But now with Amari Cooper coming into the fold, there's a lot of questions about what things are going to look like for Khalil Shakir. Keon Coleman, he was a dart throw sleeper among the rookie wide receivers that, he could emerge and take this receiving core. Now it doesn't really look as likely for that. And then guys like Curtis Samuel, who were kind of on the fringe anyway, and Matt Collins, who got a touchdown. These guys are pretty much DFS plays at best, but not really guys you want to roster in fantasy. But this is a good addition as well for James Cook. Very much like Breece Hall, this is going to space out the field for them, allow Cook to cook more, no pun intended. It's good for Josh Allen now that he's got another receiver. It's just generally a stock up for all of these guys. But for Dalton Kincaid, this is kind of a disappointing development because the one thing that you were looking for with Dalton Kincaid was that this guy could potentially emerge as the number one. Now he's already had some problems with target volume on this team, and now he's getting Amari Cooper into the fold. So I would say that this is a good opportunity to sell Kincaid, but the problem is that he hasn't put up great numbers anyway. So if you have him, you're probably stuck with him. but I think this is a potential sell opportunity for Dalton Kincaid because I just have concern of what his volume is going to look like now that they have Amari Cooper, and now, uh, especially since he wasn't even really getting consistent volume on a weekly basis anyway. So a little bit of a concerning development for him there, but I think sadly you're probably stuck with him at this point. All right, and then the very interesting development for me with this is Amari Cooper. How does this affect the Cleveland Browns? And the big sleeper to me that you got to watch out for now, and honestly, if you can make this tight end trade, I would do this. Trade Dalton Kincaid for David Njoku. David Njoku had 7 targets last week, coming back from his injury, and he did not get a touchdown in this game. So I had David Njoku in my video earlier this week as a buy low candidate because of those 7 receptions. I talked about in that video, even what if Amari Cooper gets traded now. So just look at this past game. So David Njoku had 7 targets. Amari Cooper had 6 targets. The next guy that had anything close to that was Jerry Jeudy, who had 3 targets, and Pierre Strong had 3, which is both half. So now the overall point I'm trying to make is that David Njoku is now going to be hyper targeted. He's a talented tight end. Deshaun Watson is limited, so they're going to probably run more plays through their tight ends. This is a great buy low opportunity for David Njoku. This would be the guy that I'd be targeting from the Cleveland Browns. And then other sleepers to keep an eye on that are more of a waiver pickup. Keep an eye on Jerry Jeudy. He had 1 good game this season, and actually 2. He had a 12-point game against Jacksonville in full PPR and a 13-point against Vegas. His targets dipped off the last few weeks, but now he is probably their number 1 receiver. And, of course, you've got limitations with Deshaun Watson, but I think that this is a potential guy to stash and keep an eye on to see what happens. I would not feel comfortable starting Jerry Jeudy next week, probably not for at least 2 weeks, but just stash and see how this develops because he's going to probably be the number 1 receiver on this team outside of Njoku. So just pay attention to things like that as you have these receivers that are leaving teams to keep an eye on who's going to be replacing them. And then the last note I want to make is that it's kind of a stock down for these running backs as well. I think that you kind of have the opposite effect going that you saw with Breece Hall and Cook, as I talked about, where teams can crowd the box on them. They're going to probably do that more with Nick Chubb when he comes back. So this is probably a sell opportunity for Nick Chubb. And I think for guys like Jerome Ford, this makes them even less attractive for a player that's probably droppable anyway at this point. And obviously it doesn't help Deshaun Watson, but hopefully you are not one of those managers that has to rely on him anyway, because if so, you got to find another quarterback. All right, so that is my instant reaction to these 2 massive trades today. If you have any questions about them, you have any trades that you want to run by me with this breaking news, comment below, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.